You ever notice how pigeons are everywhere? Like, no matter where you go, there they are bobbing their heads, pecking at crumbs, flying off the second you get too close. We barely pay attention to them. They're just part of the background, right? But what if I told you that one pigeon, a single bird, changed lives? Not just his own, but the lives of tiny, helpless puppies. Sounds crazy, but this is a story you need to hear. Because once you do, I promise you'll never look at pigeons the same way again. So, there's this woman, right? She's always been the kind of person who attracts animals. Like, you ever meet someone who just has this way with creatures? The kind of person stray dogs somehow find their way to. That's her. And because of that, she always had birds around her house. But none of them were like Herman. Herman wasn't supposed to make it. 2 years ago, someone found him in a parking lot. He wasn't just sitting there. He was barely alive. This tiny pigeon, just lying there, motionless, starving. It was clear he hadn't eaten in a long time. And you know how people are. Most would just walk right past him. It's just a pigeon, right? Nothing special. Nothing worth stopping for. But one person did stop. They saw him, picked him up, and brought him to this woman. And she didn't hesitate for a second. She took him in, knowing full well that he might not make it. But she wasn't about to let him die alone in a parking lot. She fed him, kept him warm, gave him everything he needed. And little by little, he started getting stronger. But there was something off. Have you ever seen a bird tilt its head in a weird way? Like, not just looking around, but almost like it can't hold it straight. That was Herman. She had worked as a vet before, so she knew what that meant. PMV, a virus. And not just any virus, one that stole his ability to fly. Imagine that for a second. You're born to do one thing, to soar, to take off whenever danger comes. And now you just can't. That's what happened to Herman. So now she's got this pigeon who can't fly. And finding someone willing to take him in, nearly impossible. Because let's be real, who wants a disabled pigeon? Who even cares? Most people would have given up right there. But she didn't. She looked at Herman and made a choice. He was staying with her, no matter what. And let me tell you, Herman made himself right at home. You ever see a bird act like a dog? Because that's exactly what he did. He started hanging out with her dogs, watching them, mimicking them. And it wasn't just some random thing. He was actually learning from them. He'd curl up with them, follow them around. And the weirdest part, he started playing. Like rolling over, snuggling up. It was like he thought he was one of them. And maybe, in his mind, he was. Now here's where it gets even crazier. This woman, she works with the Maya Foundation. If you've never heard of it, they take in puppies with birth defects. Puppies that people don't want. Puppies that don't stand a chance without help. So, because of her work, there was always a puppy in the house. And guess who decided it was his job to look after them? Yep, Herman. Every single time she brought in a new puppy, Herman was there, like, all right, this one's mine. He'd snuggle up to them, try to groom them with his beak, keep them warm. And these puppies, they didn't care that he wasn't a dog. All they knew was that this little bird was keeping them safe. And if you've ever seen a tiny, fragile puppy curl up next to a pigeon for comfort, it's enough to break you, in the best way. And it wasn't just a one-time thing. This happened over and over. As one puppy grew up and found a new home, another one would come in, and Herman was right there, ready to love them. Think about that for a second. A bird that most people would ignore. A pigeon that no one thought was worth saving. He became something more. He became a caretaker. He became a friend. And not just to the puppies, to the women too. Because the love he gave wasn't just for the animals. It was for her, for everyone in that house. It was like he knew he had been saved, and he was paying it forward. And that's why I wanted to share this story, because it makes you think, doesn't it? How many times do we ignore something or someone just because they don't seem important? How many times do we pass by something that could actually change our lives just because we don't take a second look? Harmon's story isn't just about a pigeon. It's about second chances. It's about looking beyond what's normal or useful and seeing the value in something small, something different. It's about realizing that kindness, love, and purpose can come from the most unexpected places. So, here's my question for you. What's your Harmon? What's that thing in your life that you've been overlooking? Or better yet, is there someone who needs a second chance? Is there an opportunity to show kindness that you've been too busy to notice? Because I promise you, those small things, they matter. They add up. And sometimes the tiniest act of kindness, the smallest moment of care, can change everything. So today, do something. It doesn't have to be big. Maybe it's checking in on someone you haven't talked to in a while. Maybe it's helping out in a way you hadn't thought of before. Or maybe it's just taking a second to appreciate the things and the people you usually overlook. Because you never know. You might just be exactly what someone else needs today.